Never was the relationship between humans and technology so close. But for cyborgs, it's not close enough. They merge their bodies with technology.
I'm a cyborg, so I've created a new sense and a new organ, and I've designed my perception of reality.
I have an implant here, and I use my implant on a daily basis.
Without it being medically necessary, cyborgs inject magnets into their fingers, plant chips under their skin. They implant technology. We're not simply loonies with crazy ideas, we're people who are trying to shape the future.
Now we do like 100 a month, maybe. So the exponential growth is catching on. So as soon as there's 100,000 users, we're gonna have 200K, 400K, 800K, 2 million, 8 million, 16 million.
Will it be normal in the future to upgrade our bodies, or are we already there?
If your mobile phone is running out of battery, many people say, I'm running out of battery. This is a clear sign of using or talking about technology in first person as if you were already technology.
Yeah, if someone offers me to get a new hand instead of this one, but just stronger and better and more efficient and more precise, then I would be absolutely willing to do this.
When people say I'm a cyborg, and that implies I can do things that you can't do, it's the opposite of removing boundaries. It's creating new boundaries. Neil Harbison is, as he says, the world's first officially recognized cyborg. The composer has been colorblind since birth. He sees the world in shades of gray.
So each color has its own light frequency, which corresponds to a sound frequency. So the antenna allows me to hear the sound of each color. This is F, this is A, so each color has its own note. So when I put colors on a piece of paper, to me it's like putting music on paper.
In 2004, Neil Harbison had the antenna implanted by an anonymous surgeon. It contains a sensor that recognizes color frequencies and transmits them to a chip in the back of his head. This chip turns them into audio signals.
Da-da-da-da-da. So it's F, G, F, G, F, A. I'm just improvising. So it's a bit like jazz now, just playing different notes. At the beginning, it was overwhelming, hearing so many colors. I need some time of adaptation. The brain will need to adapt to the new input until it becomes like any other sense or pre-existing sense. And then when it becomes normal, you feel the need to extend it again. So that's at least what happened to me, that when I was able to hear all the colors visual, because I felt it was a repetition all the time. So that's why I added infrareds and ultraviolets.
In this way, Harbison can also hear sun rays, motion detectors, remote controls, and anti-theft devices. But is that desirable 24 hours a day?
So the antenna is always on, there's no switch. At night, when I turn off the lights, there's usually no color, so there's silence, but the internet is on, so people can still send colors to my head while I'm asleep. So if this happens, they can color my dreams.
It's a strange choice, which often creates problems. Harbison fought with the British authorities for a long time before he was allowed to include the antenna in his passport.
Well, the biggest struggle of being a cyborg is society. It's people who are not tolerant to one's decision. It's hard. Sometimes it's just also people who really think that we are against nature and against humans and against God.
But Harbison also has allies, some of them in Germany.
In Berlin, there is a community of people that are very enthusiastic about cyborgism. Maybe not so artistically, but I think here in Berlin it's more of a social thing.
Cyborgs view themselves as forerunners of a growing movement. Oliver Vark-Jürgensen belongs to the Berlin Cyborg Society. Cyborgs need vitamins too. Vark-Jürgensen is a chocolate maker and member of the Pirate Party, and he intends to turn himself into a cyborg. It takes a bit of practice. It's easier to make this bread than most people think. We've been making most of our own bread for 4 or 5 years. Vark-Jürgensen lives together with his partner and their children. The past few years have been hard. Vark-Jürgensen suffers from arthritis. He already has 2 artificial knees and an artificial hip. And although he's just managing to walk again, it'll soon be time for another hip. He wants to upgrade this one. All the things you can do with a hip like that. Of course, biomonitoring is no problem. The bloodstream and the neutral stimuli provide a lot of information. And then, of course, the little gimmicks, like this mobile Wi-Fi router. Or I have a smartphone in my pocket next to the artificial hip and it gets charged when I move, or from the heat of my blood. Just don't get something healthy removed to get something better. No, of course not. Nothing's as good as the original. Would you think it cool if Ollie had a Wi-Fi router in his hip? A free radio router with Wi-Fi wherever I happen to be. Cool. Then you wouldn't be the rain god, you'd be the Wi-Fi god, but you're that already. I don't know. Nobody would believe me. How do people get such ideas? For as long as I've known him, he's wanted, like a little boy, to be connected to the internet, like in science fiction. He's had this idea ever since I've known him. Anything that's possible that would upgrade his body, he would do immediately. When Oliver Vark-Jürgensen received his 3 artificial joints, he associated the operations with pain and feeling old. It would be different if they built in a wireless charger for his smartphone, he says. That would be cool. A form of avant-garde, blazing a trail. It would take a lot of pressure off me. Of course, on the one hand, this is the 4th time, so I know what to expect. But if they were going to build in some gimmick, it would make it easier. But German law does not permit implants with supplementary functions. So Vark-Jürgensen has been in direct contact with manufacturers for months.
In
Germany, an implant is just an implant. You don't play with it. That's the current view. And of course, it has to be cracked. We want to reach the people who make these decisions, who can also say, wait a minute, here's a gap that needs to be filled. You need to get your toe in the door. And if the manufacturers don't respond, others will. At some time in the future, will artificial spare parts be able to do more than the originals? This question obsesses Bertolt Meyer. He was born without the lower half of his left arm and wears an artificial hand. Probably the best that's currently available. Basically, the artificial hand can't do anything that my right hand can't do, with one exception. I can twist the artificial one 360 degrees. Continuously, but that's not very practical. I always say it's my party trick. But it's also very interesting theoretically because, of course, it shows that even an artificial limb, which in many ways is not as good as the original, can be better in other areas in very specific abilities. Bertolt Meyer is a social psychologist at the Technical University in Chemnitz. He focuses on people who want artificial body parts, even though they are perfectly healthy.
Ich find's schon ein bisschen komisch.
I think it's a bit strange when people say, theoretically, I'm ready to replace a healthy body part with an artificial one because it would make me somehow better.
Weil ich dann irgendwie besser wäre, wo ich denke,
I think, well, frankly, being 100% healthy is a privilege that I don't have. So I think perhaps you should be a bit more aware of what a privilege that is that you enjoy.
Was für ein Privileg das ist, was du genießt.
Humans are weak, vulnerable, and forgetful. Technology is supposed to liberate them from nature's limitations. But why take tools in your hands when you can carry them inside yourself? Is this the next logical step to upgrade humans? To become stronger, faster, more perfect? Is this the end of human weakness, or the beginning of the end of humanity? Patrick Paumann dreams of overcoming the limitations of his body with technology. As a small step in this direction, he inserts micro-implants into his body. In December 2010, at the Chaos Communication Congress, Left Anonym gave a lecture entitled Cybernetics for the Masses. He explained how you can perform your own implantations at very little cost. The lecture mentioned magnet implants and RFID implants. I became very curious about how magnetic and electromagnetic fields would feel. Then I decided to do it. Magnet implants don't have much use at the present time. They vibrate in Patrick Paumann's hand, for instance, when he approaches an electric cable. But a car manufacturer is researching whether drivers could be sent signals via magnetic vibrations, for instance, in a dangerous situation. Humans react to tactile feelings more quickly than to any other sense data. Patrick Paumann lives in Heerlen, on the German-Dutch border. He now has 5 magnets and 6 chips in his body. Each chip has its own function. I have the advantage that I can never lose my keys or have them stolen from me. I can never lock myself out. It makes life easier. When my hands are full, I don't have to dig into my trouser pockets to find my keys. And look, which key do I need for the door? With another chip, Paumann can log on to his computer. The chips operate with the technology known as RFID, radio frequency identification. It allows data to be transmitted over a short distance without a battery. Paumann has already ordered another chip. It apparently has its own apps by means of which messages can be encoded and payments made. So far, Paumann only knows the chip from the internet. Some people have had the idea of making glasses, lasering eyes, developing hearing implants. We keep developing. The aim is to make life simpler. I only see advantages.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Cyborgs are viewed as eccentrics, but the industry thinks this is going to change. Neil Harbison is often invited to talk to telecommunications companies. A sensational presentation here on the stage. I'm delighted that he's here, Neil Harbison.
So what I like doing is sound portraits, where instead of drawing someone's face, I get close to someone's face and I write down the sound of the eyes, the lips, the skin, and the hair. The first one I did was of Prince Charles. I asked him if I could listen to his face, and this was his reaction when I asked him. Each person sounds different. Judi Dench has silent hair, for example. Al Gore has different nodes in his eyes, different shades of turquoise. Steve Reich has a melody in his eyes because he has like a small pattern. Moby has one note less, he has no hair, so he has less sounds. Woody Allen, like a soft painting, very unsaturated.
Neil Harbison makes a good living from his lectures, his cyborg existence. Is it just clever self-promotion, or is he really a social pioneer?
Yeah, in 20, 30 years, I think it will be strange to not to have an implant of some sort, in the same way that now it's very common to see people with tattoos, and whereas maybe 50 years it would be really strange. Now it's very common to modify our skin. It will soon be very common to modify our mind.
But a practical problem for cyborgs is the implantation itself. Doctors are not permitted to perform non-medical operations. So Hike Kiekenup is kept busy. The piercer turns humans into cyborgs. Today, it's Lucia Diebler's turn. She wants to have a magnet implanted in her hand. Partly curiosity, but mainly, in fact, for professional reasons. I'm a dressmaker and I don't like pincushions. So a small magnet here on my hand will be very useful. Cutting your skin for such trifling reasons is surprising. But the piercer, Hike Kiekenup, hasn't taken the Hippocratic Oath and can help. It's a grey area. It's okay as long as the patient signs a contract that she bears all the risks. And implanting magnets carries considerable risks. I've sometimes seen magnets from less reliable firms rust in the body. They rusted out. Or they led to allergic reactions. There's no way of knowing how the body will react to magnets. It can reject them. Nerves can be damaged.
Atmen mal ganz tief ein. Aua, verdammte Scheiße. Haben wir's? Gleich.
The procedure costs roughly €150 and takes about 10 minutes. It feels like a pulling sensation. It's pretty strong. Most people would never dream of implanting magnets or chips in their bodies. But Kiekenup believes that will change.
There
are now chips in the beta phase that are more functional. And I can see that in 2, 5, maybe 10 years, much more useful implants will be invented. Implants like Circadia, which registers heart frequency and other physical data, but on a smaller scale. Circadia is as big as a smartphone. An American had it implanted in his arm in 2013.
Hey everybody, my name is Tim Cannon. I just became the first man to implant a device in my body that was solely for the purpose of enhancing myself.
Circadia can continuously measure body temperature, pulse, and blood levels, and transmit the data to a smartphone. Patrick Palman is also interested in this implant. I've met Tim. He didn't have the implant any longer. From what I see on the internet, it's quite big. It looks creepy and was dangerous. The batteries in Circadia may have leaked. That's why Tim Cannon had it removed after 3 months. But he wanted to show what's possible. Similar implants are available on a smaller scale. I have an implant in my lower arm which measures my body temperature. There's a temperature sensor inside. And I have an RFID device that reads the chip. It displays the serial number and the temperature in my lower arm. Unlike thermometers or activity trackers, these chips gather the data continuously without you having to think about them. Eventually, nanorobots could circulate in our bloodstream and analyze everything. What's good for us? When are we stressed? We could continuously monitor our health and detect diseases before they develop. But do we want that? Have total surveillance of our bodies? Patrick Palman is still waiting for the new chip he ordered. It will enable him to encode data. He now wants to further develop the chips himself. He goes to Hackspace, a meeting point for technology freaks in Heerlen. Palman founded it himself. Even at the drinks machine, he only has to scan his chip, and it transmits his data. Palman and his friends want to get more and more out of each device. I want to lock and unlock my car without using a key. If you accidentally feed current into this white wire, you break the device. This could go wrong. Palman has to change the switch of his central lock system so it can read his chip. He tinkers with the device for 5 hours. It's switching now, but the engine's not working.
Joshua, jij weet wat van elektronica?
The members of Hackerspace believe that they are helping to shape the future. But making even a little progress costs a lot of effort. A few hours later, Palman succeeds. The central locking system can now read his chip. Now it has to be installed in the car. It's locked. Great, now I can throw away the keys. Once again, Palman has improved his life a little. Now he just has to wait for the chip he ordered from the USA. Oliver Vark-Jørgensen in Berlin is fighting for his Cyborg hip. So far, the implant manufacturers have given him the cold shoulder. He's decided to seek the support of his orthopedist, Dr. Peter Hansel. Would he agree to implant a hip with which Vark-Jørgensen could charge his mobile, with the energy produced by his movements, or one containing a mobile Wi-Fi router? Okay, so in the head or in the acetabulum, there would be space for a little gimmick. Certainly. It could easily be built into an artificial joint. You just have to watch out for the radiation exposure. Of course, that's an ethical issue, right? Laws and ethics play a role, but we're not just playing around. If somebody's going to have an operation like this, they can think about whether it could be upgraded a bit. Of course. The radiation exposure could become a problem because the radiation has to pass through all the skin layers. There's no empirical evidence available. But Dr. Peter Hansel believes in the future of such implants. I'm very open to ideas like this. I'd always be in favor, certainly from the medical point of view, but also when it's really useful to the patient. Most physicians are skeptical about cyborg ideas. It's the first time Varg Jørgensen has received support from a doctor. He has contacts among the manufacturers, and he could help us convince them that it wouldn't be just a party game, but something for the future. But where does the compulsion come from to do such a radical thing? Equipping your body with technology is a way of making it more efficient and appearing more efficient, and perhaps of increasing your own value a bit. Because of my disability, my self-esteem is certainly not the best. And I know the feeling that a bit of complicated technology can increase your sense of self-worth. Humans become designers of their own bodies. When everybody immediately knows everything about everyone else, when little robots inside us watch over our blood, and when there's no difference anymore between online and offline, a new human era will start. Will it be like when humans first invented tools and life became easier? Or will it be a competition for the best implant? What will happen if some people refuse to have them? Will it produce a division, like between rich and poor, between upper and lower class? In Sweden, there's nothing unusual about being a cyborg. A Stockholm media enterprise is holding an implantation party. It has invited the artistic crowd. They can upgrade their bodies at the party. It was Hannes Sjöbott's idea. He is the founder of a biohacker group. Biohackers refuse to accept biology and the limitations of nature. They want to upgrade their bodies with technology. Today, Sjöbott is promoting RFID chips, the same chips that Patrick Palman carries in his body.
I mean, it works like this. We humans, we are skeptical about things we don't really understand, right? But if you explain how it works, what are the good things, what are the bad things, what are the dangers, I mean, then most people are simply comfortable with it. So this is what I try to do. I'm not in the business of selling implants. I just like to share the insights I have.
Getting a chip implanted in Sweden costs exactly the same as in Germany, about 120 euros. The chips are made of bioglass so that the body doesn't reject them. And they're the size of a grain of rice. Helena Ljungwirth is one of the first who wants to try them out.
I'm not nervous at all, actually. It's not worth than giving birth, so I'm sticking to my thought on that. Try everything once, you only live once. I might take it out tomorrow.
You'll love it. Okay.
5 seconds later, Helena Ljungwirth is chipped.
Hopefully I can open my door with it. I have to call the insurance company and the people delivering the door and see if I can open that with it.
An extraordinary number of people who get chips implanted don't know what exactly to do with them. A company representative explains how they can save passwords or their business cards on the chips and transmit them to a smartphone with a wave of the hand. Theoretically, the data could easily get into the wrong hands.
No doubts at all. I think it's great. Cool. I think it's a fun thing, cool thing. And I think it's only the beginning of this. It should be. I think it will be an explosion going forward.
10% within 5 years.
Sweden.
Yeah. We're early adapters. Yeah. We're really avant-garde with technology. I mean, the upcoming generation is they're all born with an iPad or an iPhone or the Samsung. I mean, my son is 6 years old. He's doing junior programming on his iPad, like kindergarten stuff.
The public transport company in Stockholm is even considering letting passengers pay for their tickets with implanted chips. Helena Ljungwirth, who has just received her first chip, thinks that's a great idea.
I lose my things all the time. I lose my passport, I lose my bus card, my keys, my card to the gym. If everything could be in one place, that would be amazing. And I hope that will come during the next 6 months, but maybe I shouldn't be too optimistic. But I guess I'd be more free.
Elsewhere in Stockholm, chips are already commonplace. The epicenter is a large modern office complex in the central business district. There are dozens of startups here. As a matter of course, workers open the doors with chip implants. It was Hannes Sjöblatt's idea. He was host at the implantation party, and he's the building's innovative spirit.
I want to question the status quo. I mean, yes, we've had keys in our pockets all our lives, right? We are used to it. But someone has to say, we don't need it. Someone needs to see what is possible to do tomorrow.
So far, workers have been able to choose. The question, of course, is whether they will still be able to do so in future.
I just want to have a community of smart people who learn how this works. Because if the day comes when a big company launches the eye implant, or the Swedish tax authority says we were going to chip everyone, then we will have a group of people who understands this technology and can challenge the uses that the authority wants this technology to have on us. So for me, this is so important with the democratization of technology. It's not just to learn how to use the technology. It's more importantly to understand how it's being used against you.
What if the data on the chips was accessed by strangers? The Orwellian dystopia, the Big Brother, would no longer be fiction. Chips could create the transparent citizen. Folk Gabsch from the Chaos Computer Club believes that the secret services and business would be very interested in this data.
Für die ist das natürlich sehr interessant, vielleicht
Of course, it's very interesting for them to register people in passing without having to use face recognition or similar techniques. Simply to say, that was this and that person who just walked along there and there, to produce personality profiles or movement patterns. At the end of the day, these technologies can be used against us.
dass diese Technologien gegen mich verwendet werden.
In Berlin, Kika Kikenup has an appointment with a regular client. Irina Dubois doesn't just want passive chips and magnets in her body, but bigger implants that need batteries.
Am I going to be one of the first people? Because they said they're going to make a trial for the first 2,000 people who pre-ordered it? Or was
Yeah,
it
yes, you will be one of the first. As far as I know, the first one in Germany.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes?
Irina wants the north sense, a kind of compass. The implant is supposed to vibrate whenever she faces north.
This is not a device or a gadget. This is technology that evolves with you. In time, you'll develop new types of memory, experience, and feeling.
Big promises lead to great expectations.
It will be exciting because it's kind of your own Google Maps. At some point you will be just used to, you walk down that street or you have this feeling, oh, okay, I have to go there.
Yeah, getting the north sense can completely transform my perception of travels, of discovering cities, of maybe I will still get lost, but I will kind of know which direction I'm going, and that can really, that changes my perception.
Irina doesn't just want more implants, she would even replace some body parts.
Oh, if I can have a heart that makes me live forever, sure. I guess if we get to the point where we can exchange body parts, then eventually I will have to exchange all of them because they naturally die.
Could humans eventually upgrade themselves for immortality? A political scientist at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology is researching how cyborg technologies are influencing our society.
Wenn wir jetzt mal davon ausgehen, dass die Gesellschaft so in groben Zügen so bleibt, wie sie jetzt ist.
If we assume that society remains roughly as it is, I'm very pessimistic that the so-called refuseniks, people who reject these developments, can keep resisting.
Ganz einfaches Beispiel ist,
A simple example I remember is how people discuss the importance of participating fully in society without using the internet. Of course, you can refuse to use the internet today, but I think it would be difficult even to study without it.
Schwierige Angelegenheit.
Human dignity is inalienable. When the boundaries between humans and electronic devices are blurred, where is our identity? Is it going to be a question of what upgrade we can afford? This new life means greater control. We can stop diseases and decay. But we will need a new frame of values and social mores for this freedom. Things are not looking good for Oliver Bach-Jørgensen and his cyborg hip. He hasn't been able to convince the manufacturers. So today, he's talking to the Pyro Society, where he's a member of the board. Pyro focuses on political education, and its members have good contacts amongst politicians and academics. He hopes to get their support. I'd be grateful for ideas and support from your connections, to find other manufacturers, probably outside of Europe, and for us to say, come on guys, let's try something like this. I don't understand why you want to reach the manufacturers. Perhaps you can explain, because I think the first thing you need to do, the first people you need to talk to, are the guys involved in medical ethics. And they are not the manufacturers. Another issue, of course, is the legal aspect. Apart from the ethics experts, the lawyers. That's an incredibly important target group. To get them to think about where the boundaries lie. You should really be having this discussion with technologists, doctors, and ethical experts. And not just for a matinee, but a whole workshop. I think that could trigger a social debate. We would support you. I said this from the start. It's our issue, our new big issue. Great, thank you. Your reaction's cool. It's really important to me, and I'm really pleased with the feedback. Bach-Jørgensen could get his cyborg hip quite soon. I hope society will take more notice of cyborgism and it spreads, so that people overcome the fear they have. It's a legitimate fear. Look, that other guy is trying to improve himself with technology, and he's doing it, and has the advantage over me. That's indisputable. It's an issue with cyborgism. We need to work on it and demand that society create the conditions in which the two can coexist and, in the best-case scenario, cooperate. Patrick Palman has been waiting for this day for months. He's come to Berlin with the prototype of the data encoding chip from the USA in his luggage. I'm very excited. I haven't been able to test it yet. I hope everything works out. Palman wants to get the implant done in Hika Kirkenup's piercing studio. Hi, I brought the new implant. Show me. The packet arrived yesterday. Perfect timing. They don't yet know if the chip works. When it was tested recently on another volunteer, it broke immediately. So this is it. It'll be my first time. Wow, it's quite long, isn't it? But relatively flat. I certainly want to test it first. If it's able to read, we'll see.
Mal versuchen, ob ich es auch so lesen kann. Mal sehen.
Was heißt das?
What does that mean? No? Sorry. Tag communication was interrupted.
Also,
Now it's reading. Yes?
Ja.
It's been recognized as an NXP Smart MC chip.
Ja.
So it's all systems go. The prototype chip is exceptionally large. It can't be injected under the skin like most of the other chips Parman has.
Und welche?
What implants do you have now? Only the NFC chip.
NFC-Chip? Ich weiß jetzt
I
nicht.
can't remember the number offhand. A 125 RFID.
RFID? Ich glaube, das war RFID. So.
The procedure takes 45 minutes. Then Parman has the 12th implant in his body. So it's inside. Inside. For Parman, the chip is mainly a status symbol.
Ja, ich bin stolz darauf. Ja, es ist ein
Yes, I'm proud that it's a prototype. It's not on the market yet.
erhältlich und
And I'm one of the beta testers.
einer der Beta-Tester,
The manufacturer asked me if I could test it, and I said yes.
und ja, gerne.
Parman can now encode with the chip and eventually perhaps even pay with it. It certainly won't be his last implant. Neil Harbison also has plans. He wants to receive an implant that is entirely new.
So now I'm creating an organ that will be circular between the skin and the bone, and it will give heat depending on what time it is. So it would take 24 hours for the heat to go around the head. So I'll know what time it is by just feeling the heat around the head. But if I have this for several months or years, it should become my perception of time. So then I'll be able to control if I want time to go faster or slower. If I make the heat go slower, I'll feel the time goes slower. Or if I want time to go faster, I can program it so it goes faster. If I make it go twice forward or backwards. So it's taking Einstein's theory of time relativity into a sense, into an organ, to see whether or not you can control your perception of time if you have an organ for time.
It's doubtful whether we can really manipulate our sense of time like that. But what's certain is that cyborg technologies will change our society.
Imagine two persons meeting in the future. What will the interaction be like? So possibly, let's say we have implant technology that logs the different processes that is going on in the body. Someone is stressed, someone is happy, someone is angry, someone is in love. And imagine the ability to share this information directly inside someone else. I think this would create a greater understanding between people and a greater understanding for what another person is feeling and going through. And I hope that this will make us more ethical persons if we have a greater understanding for each other.
I think it's really important not to leave the debate about the social effects of technology to technologists, engineers and economists. It's really important to start a discussion in the media about what lies ahead, what's conceivable, and what effect it could have on our society.
Und was wird das mit unserer Gesellschaft machen?
I think we should reflect on these processes before they rush in on us.
Bevor sie in großem Stil auf uns hereinbrechen.
What is technically possible and what is ethically justifiable? We are just beginning to explore those boundaries.